would you mind introducing yourself for the audience, please?
Sure. So my name is Tania Rivilis. I'm hard to say, but I'm 39. Well, from last week, actually. I always prefer to say 38, actually, but okay, who cares? Yeah, so I'm a self-taught artist. I started painting when I was 27, when I moved to Germany, actually. And I was always interested in something, like how do I express myself? I just didn't know how do I do that. I had an idea to go into architecture first, but then, life told me to do the media design. And when I moved to Germany, I actually was alone here, no friends, sometimes no internet. So it was kind of like depressive, I know, yeah. But actually, that pushed me to try something new. And I always wanted to try oil paintings and art because art history was my favorite subject during the university years. And I tried. I did the copies of old masters like Repin, Rembrandt, Vermeer. And that's how I started learning, like what oil is. And I started being more comfortable with the medium. And then I start my experiments with like some, I don't know, like nail polish spray and some OSB panels that I found in garbage. And that's how I moved towards my own kind of signature style. I still think I'm like, searching and trying to find my unique voice. But at least I start being noticeable by the galleries. And that's how I started working with Arcadia Gallery. And then I was on Times Square. And then I was at the Christie's and won William Locke Prize. And I'm like, do we allow to curse during the...
You
Yes,
are.
okay. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, so, and all that, like when I think about this in retrospective, then it sounds like amazingly beautiful story of my life. But every day I'm in the studio, and I'm probably not answering your question right now, but I'm so sorry. But yeah, I feel grateful, very thankful to how I moved from, non-being artist, self-taught artist to a full-time artist. So sounds like a nice story.
It is an amazing story, but not only did you answer my question, you answered about 10 other questions that I was going to ask you. So no, it was wonderful. That was really good. And I must say, I'm not trying to be inappropriate. I thought you were in your early 20s, so don't you worry about being 39. I really did think you were much younger than you actually are. So yeah, very good for you. But you're so originally from Ukraine and you moved to Germany, and that's when you started to become an artist. Did you say it's because you were alone? That's why you started to paint?
So the story is more complex. I was born in Ukraine. Then I moved to Moscow when I was around 8. Then I lived even in India and Dominican Republic, but it's a love stories. We will keep it in our, like young ages. Thanks God there was no internet, so nobody can, recover that stories. And then, yeah, I moved to Germany to do my master in media design degree, and where I met my future husband, or my husband. So the story is actually more simple, probably. I was sitting like one evening, we were working together in media design, TV advertisement. And then I just realized after the work, I'd rather go to the gym, do some sports, or nothing. Like you don't have, when you don't have hobbies or you don't have something for your own soul, for your own, like it's meditative process. If you don't have it, it's kind of like difficult to live, I think, for humans, especially for creative ones. And my future husband, that time boyfriend, he said like, don't you have any hobbies? Maybe you wanted to try something like dancing, I don't know, like singing, whatever. And I said, I actually wanted to try to paint with oils and do portraits. So we went to art supplies and we bought some brushes, oils. And that's how I started painting. I just had iPad with a reference, some I don't know, like Repin, let's say, because I copied a lot of Repin and Serov. And yeah, with a small brush, tiny brush, I was so afraid to do any brush stroke. It's not like now I'm like, with a huge brush, just getting crazy. But that time it was scary. Yeah, but that's how all started.
That's amazing. And when you say rapping, you mean Nikolai rapping, not Ilya rapping, or do you mean Ilya rapping?
Ilya Repin. Yeah, I
Ilya
have
rapping.
his book in front of me actually. So
Wonderful. I love Ilya rapping. Yeah, fantastic. I just thought
thank
I
you.
should check with there being two rappings out there. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's amazing. And your subject matter is predominantly the male figure. Is that conscious, or was that something which you got as inspiration from the source material of the classical artists? Where did that come from?
I think we now will switch to kind of therapy because I will talk about traumatized childhood.
Oh no.
No, it's fine. It's not that sad, actually.
Okay.
So, like before, I didn't know why I'm painting men. It was kind of like unknown, and it was something, subconscious, unconscious for me. But then I just realized that I need to figure out like why I'm painting men, because people was asking more and more questions about that, and I had to reply something at least. And I realized probably that there are three reasons for that. So the first one is probably my love to architecture and to the geometrical forms and straight lines and curves and angles. And man face is like a map, like where you can go with the angles and curves and you can kind of like roaming around the face, while female face is something smooth. It's like one line. It's calligraphical feeling. And I realized that I love more to go around the shape, with more angles and more kind of brutal uh, feeling of, turning the forms and turning the shapes and shadows. That's the first reason. The second reason is that my childhood was in Soviet Union. As you know, Soviet Union is about brutal people. So Dostoevsky, like, very strong, and I grew up surrounded by macho men, dominant men, um, and I think I was just tired of that, and I actually wanted to see men around me who are secured, who are sensitive, who are vulnerable, who can feel, who cannot, not dangerous for me or something like that. And I realized that all men around me in my studio, they are my friends. There are some strangers on the street. There are someone with whom I would love to meet, talk about feelings, like someone who are kind of like between the genders, like that's a second reason. And the third reason is probably the feministical one, if I if I can say that, is like during the art history, and I remember the Katie Hessel book, Art History Without Men. During the art history, women were a subject for men, right? There were muses, there were inspirations for men, and models, of course. And men were kind of like an artist, the creator, the craftsman. So I love to feel that I'm switching the roles right now, like that I can tell the man who is entering my studio, like, take off your clothes and sit on this sofa and shut up. Something like that. Maybe not in that brutal way, but just feeling that I'm switching the roles, it gives me some kind of satisfaction and proudness.
Excellent. That's amazing. Can I just break the fourth wall for a minute and just say you've structured that answer incredibly well and you're doing very good at keeping us on track. That's wonderful. But no, that's a fantastic answer and lovely, lovely rationality behind all of it. Very admirable. So do you do a combination of in person and from photo reference, or how do you work?
I prefer to work from photo references. Why is that? It's because I'm probably a weird painter. When I'm painting, I do weird faces. I can sing, I can dance, and I prefer when it's quiet, or like I have a music on background, but I'm deep in my process. Because when I stay, like I relax my stomach muscles, so it's not probably very sexy. um, and I prefer to be alone. You know what I mean? It's just like a very intimate, kind of like very personal thing. Um, so that's why I prefer to work. I love to paint from live. Like I go every Saturday to live drawings when I can. So I love it. But when I'm into the process, especially when I have an idea, like with this two person looks, I prefer to be alone. I don't know, like how you feel about this.
Well, I think they're just two different things, aren't they, really? They're very different
Mm.
feelings. Painting from an in-person to from a photograph, it's a different mindset, but it's very interesting because the way that you work is different to the way that I work. I don't sing and dance, and I'm kind of, I wish I did have that.
Because you're okay, you're mentally healthy.
I don't know.
Congratulations.
I'm not sure if mental health is measured by my whatever I'm going through when I'm painting, but now, when you said earlier on that you are still maybe finding your self, your style, I don't know how you worded it, but with your art, does that mean, has there been a trajectory that you've noticed with your work so far? Has it changed in a certain way that you can identify? Has it become more vibrant, colorfully, or more impressionistic, or the opposite? Is there anything like that you've noticed?
Yeah, I realized that almost every artist went through the Vermeer stage or like Dutch stage or some classical art stage. And I went through it too, although like my art journey was so small and so quick. So probably I squeezed it in a couple of years instead of being in academy and doing it like for 6, 10 years. But I realized that I went from the classical forms, the potato man faces, where you do everything, you kind of trying to copy the old masters, but because the colors change with the time, everything looks so brownish, like dark, and you want to paint that way. So I went from this stage towards more expressive, more impressionistic stage. I really love impressionistic art, and like the way they use emotions and loose brush strokes and the way they react to reality around them and create their own reality with their colors. Um, so I see that I went through some crazy stages as well, where I used nail polish remover when I sprayed it. I think I took it from Casey Bohr, Casey Bohr artist. He was using it like for charcoals and oil paintings. So you spray it and it has some interesting effect, like a watercolor or like some smashes. So, and then I went to kind of organizing myself in that chaos, because from the classical you're just getting crazy, something like Fauvism and getting towards more wild expression of yourself. So now I'm more organized. So I'm trying now to take all the tools that I learned in this little journey and try to organize it and see what I really love. That's why I say I'm still kind of looking for my style, because it still feels that I need to organize something. I need to figure out what I really want to do. Is it like a super bright colors, or is it the color harmony, like still being more limited? Do I want to limit myself, or do I don't want to limit myself? Like all this, do I want to go bigger? Do I want to go smaller? Like figurative art, portraits. It's so difficult to live as an artist. God, so many things to do.
There's so many options out there to explore. So it's amazing to hear how you are finding yourself through these, because it seems like you have a distinct voice in your work because of these beautiful, vibrant pinks that always seem to show up in your paintings and look so natural. You keep it, like you said, that you went through a Fauvism stage in kind of exploring different styles of artwork, and you can see that's given you this understanding of color harmonies. And is this something which you're now experimenting with? Are you kind of trying things that you just don't know how it's going to work? And how do you how do you find experimentation when it seems like you've created so many paintings that surely you're so experienced now? Do you still find areas where you are, I don't know, yeah, kind of exploring unknowns in the process?
So when you said experienced, I was like, is he talking about me?
Yeah.
I really feel not experienced at all. I actually feel like I'm that, like a kid, 5, 6 years old kid standing in like a huge space, looking around and thinking like, what should I do? Like, well, how do I start? Should I? So there are so many uncertainties and doubts and everything in my head. I'm working with therapists right now, so probably next interview would be more confident, but not this one. So first of all, I have a mood board. It's right in front of me. I'm not sure if I can turn around the camera, but maybe I can send you a photo so we can add it
Please.
to the video. So I
Yeah.
have my mood board, which I change constantly. So if I'm finding something that really inspires me or give me some idea for a future painting, I will print it. I will place it on my wall because I'm sitting here quite often when I'm reading, when I'm writing, when I'm sketching. So I have all this library of images and ideas in front of me, which really helps actually. Um, yeah, I forgot the question.
It's all right. I was thinking, how do you find space for experimentation when it seems like you know your paint quite well?
Yeah, okay. Um, I don't think I know my paint quite well. I think the only thing that artists can actually control is the medium. So I try to be better in my medium, in the tools that I'm using, because the rest, it feels like it's under control. Have you ever felt like you're doing a sketch, you're having an image in your head of the future painting? And first of all, it will never look like a sketch. Second, you will change everything. So it will, like if you will compare a sketch to a final painting, it will look like absolutely like, another artist painted it. And third, like, I'm coming to the studio. I have an idea in what mood I will be, in what my hormones, I don't know, like what can affect the human. So it's so changeable. Like it's so difficult to actually be constant or even like even stick to your idea in your head. And the other thing that really scares me is that whatever we have in our mind, that perfect image of the painting, we will never get it in reality. Like it will never be as perfect as in our minds. um, so I have a rule when I'm coming to the studio. I'm actually saying, okay, Tanya, you will do a shitty painting today. Just enjoy the process. And I try just to do a shitty painting. So I even don't try to do a good painting. But that's how good paintings are coming to the world, actually, when you're not afraid to do mistakes. And that really helps. And I think I again didn't reply your question, but
No,
I
that's it was
was I
interesting.
close?
You were, yeah. I mean, you kind of skimmed it as well because I also it makes me wonder about because you're talking about, your mindset going into the studio, but I'm now wondering because I was asking about experimentation and I suppose where where you will change certain aspects, so because you say it never turns out like the sketch. When have you found that or what's an example of that decision being made? Is it, will you change the background or will you change the pose or how do you change it?
Yeah, I got it now. I think it's all about the feeling, the momentum. Like you're standing in front of the painting, and right now you just I don't know, maybe it's something unconscious, but you just trust your gut. You kind of like trust your feeling. Even if I did a yellow background on the sketch, like a little sketch or doodle, if I feel that I need to go to the pink color, I don't know, maybe it was affected by something. I went to grab a coffee and I saw something, like it's all a huge puzzle in the head, and all this library of images just will kind of tell you what to do. So I just think that all I do is just I trust my inside kind of feeling or intuition. So sometimes I look at the painting and like I never change the pose or something. Like I can change a little, like for example the hand or probably the where the eyes look. So a small thing, because if I see that something doesn't work, I probably will just destroy the painting or overpaint it instead of trying to save it. I don't know how about you, but it never worked for me. Like if I see the painting doesn't go well, it like 99.9% that will be shit. So I don't know, like, have you ever felt like that?
This is why I ask a lot of questions to artists because I'm trying to learn how you do that because I will emulsion over a painting before I'll push it through to a better part, because I'll get to an ugly stage and I'll remain in the ugly stage for so long that I just think this painting's a failure now. It needs to disappear. And I need to learn how to actually pull it back out the other end, because that's what some artists do, but some artists don't, and that's why it's interesting to hear. So you'll
Mhm.
completely just paint over it, or will you abandon it and just start another one?
So there is a story about one of the painting that actually won William Lock Prize. And the funny thing is that I didn't like this painting at all. And I wanted to repaint it. And I actually wanted just to cover it with another painting. And when I was trying to do the first brush stroke with like another color, my husband was like, imagine in a movie, like screaming from another room, like, no, and that is slow motion. Uh, and then he said, like, are you joking? It's a good painting. Why you want to repaint it? And I said, I don't like it's too yellow. There is this black, like silhouette of the dog. There was something that I didn't get it, like, didn't work out for me. But then, sometimes I think it was, there are some artists who just turn the painting like backwards and they don't look at it for several months or some little days, just not to interact with that, because, like when you're too pushy, you might do some mistakes instead of doing the better way. So sometimes I guess it's better to leave the painting. So it's not like I'm, like a painting and then I don't see it's going well and I'm just destroying it immediately. No, I will just keep it. Like I have the painting behind me, that big face. And I still try to think like, do I like it or I don't? And it's already for like half year there. And I still cannot figure out if I like it or not. Can you imagine? Um, but for example, that painting, which was two figures, there was a huge painting that I didn't like, and I understood it quite quickly. So I just cut the canvas in two, and I repainted with something more beautiful. So I think it's, and usually, when I'm repainting the ugly painting, let's say, I try to experiment. So because it already didn't work, so why not to do something new or something unusual? So, and you're not afraid to, waste the canvas because it's already wasted.
So, I mean, half a year to look at a painting must be difficult, because I do
Yeah.
similar things. I've got a painting on my wall that's been there for half a year, and all I think of is I just need to do something to just remove it from this stage, because
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like it and I don't know what it is, but it just needs to change. I mean, do you kind of see it differently over time, or does that need turning around so that then you can turn it back around at some point and see it
Mm-hmm.
afresh? How will you reconcile, I suppose, the last session to the next?
I guess I just wait for the time when I'm probably influenced by something else, like, so I know that in half year I will be definitely influenced by new books, new art that I've seen, the movies and songs. So I know that it's like waiting for medicine that will cure you, like, so you are sick and then you just like, okay, I will be sick until someone will invent the medicine. Something like that. So I probably wait for the stage when I will have the answer, that I will have the tools in my head how to make it better or destroy it. So rather one way or another, but I just wait until my brain or my I don't know, inside feeling will be ready to move on and do something new. So, and again, as I said, like as a self-taught artist, I'm so influenced by so many things. I'm trying like a sponge, I'm trying to take everything that I see around me. I try to read as much as possible, see as many works as possible. Probably it's not a good way as well. I've heard that people say that, when you scroll the social media, you're probably influenced too much. And then, it stays in your subconscious. So, I don't know, but I think we all, like all humans, we are just genetically a collective library of previous generations. So we anyway collect stuff, right? Like in our brains and minds and memories. So yeah, I just wait for a moment when I will be ready for the painting, or the painter will be ready for me.
That's a great answer. And I mean, I suppose as most artists are kind of hoarders, so I think similarly with the social media, you're trying to almost overload yourself with
Yeah.
the beauty that people put out there into the world.
Or the ugliness,
Oh,
the
the
beauty or the
ugliness.
ugliness.
This is true.
We have been working on something in the background.
We've had previous guests revisit the channel to give us additional content, everything from studio tours, sketchbook tours, talking us through the process of paintings and all kinds of additional treats which you're exclusively going to see as a patron who supports the channel.
So by supporting us on Patreon, you help the channel keep going. There's a lot of work put into this, from the video editing to the sourcing of guests. So you really help us find those guests and to put the content out.
We have lots of content planned for the near future. So the links for that will be in the description of this video and in the description on the podcast channels. And otherwise, you can go on to Patreon and type in Painting Insights Podcast and support us that way. Thanks very much. Enjoy the video. Well, I want to ask you now about your color palette, if I can. Do you have a set palette? And if so, what colors are on your palette?
Now I know that I have a set palette, but sometimes some colors are coming to visit my palette and leaving. So it's like a home, like a hotel where colors are staying, and sometimes some are leaving, some are coming. I just realized it when I started having my workshops, because before I was not even thinking about that. So again, everything is very spontaneously, everything is very intuitively in my art practice. But since I started having workshops last year, I started my first one, I realized that I have a palette. And I think the thing that might be interesting that I don't have black at all. So I prefer to mix black with like a violet, or I don't know, like something like a greens and blues, or violets and greens, giving a very rich, interesting color. And what else? I have some interesting color, like luminescent pink, but it's an oil. I use it really a little, just on some highlights, like on cheeks, or maybe like on the end of the nose or something like that. So it's kind of like a couple of brush strokes of that luminescence, like really bright. It's from China, of course. I mean, like, who else can do luminescent pink oil color? I don't know what pigment they use. It might be very toxic. I'm not sure. So yeah, and the rest, like my palette is probably this. Oh, I probably don't use ochre as well. I just feel it makes everything slightly muddy and dull. So instead of ochre, I love to use Indian yellow and Hansa yellow, like these kind of colors, with like a pinch of magenta or something like that. So it makes actually a beautiful, rich color. So as you notice, my paintings are pretty bright. So I try to delete everything like craplak or burnt sienna, any siennas, any ochres, any blacks are not welcome in my hotel.
It's all the earth tones. Anything that's going to make a tertiary color is going to kind of kill the chroma of what you're creating. And you've got
although I use a lot of like earthy greens, something like olive greens or like earth green colors, but I mix them again with some pinkish peachy colors for like a skin tones, so it gives you more natural skin tone rather than a Barbie skin tone, So yeah.
So how did you start off? Did you start off using black and then you learned that black was just too of a dominant kind of vacuum of light, or did you never use it?
I used it at the beginning when I was like experimenting with palettes, like Thorn palette, like limited palettes. So of course I used it, but I think for my character, and you probably notice I'm a little bit like interesting. I feel like this color is giving me limits in my, brightness and my expressions. So I try to use less of these colors that are killing my vibe. Sounds very interesting. Yeah, but anyway, but when you mix violet with some like tallow green or something like that, it gives you a super rich dark color. But the nice thing is that if you use a bit more medium, for example, you can dilute it a little bit, so it start giving you some beautiful colors. And my backgrounds are usually something very bright as well, like luminescent pink. I use like acrylics for background, and they're bright. So I love to use that, like opaque colors versus transparent colors, so diluted colors. And, when the background shines underneath, I really love when it's working well.
Yeah.
Dramatic effect.
You remind me a lot of a friend of mine on Instagram who I've spoken to a few times, called Andy Soto. I'll have to send you a link to her account.
Please
She's an
do.
illustrator, but she's got the same sort of energy as you, and I love it. It's great. It's so nice. But yeah,
we need to indicate this kind of people, right? Just, there are these people. Yeah, let's come together. We should contact for sure.
I don't think you can see it on her account. I'll have to send you maybe one of my interviews with her, so you can, because that
for sure
is very her. She does that kind of, fun, kind of playful.
Very theatrical. Yeah. I just love theater, so I just love a little bit drama.
It's always fun. I love it. So yeah, I think that it sounds like you've given yourself a really great education with exploring the Zorn palette and experimenting by using acrylics to start and then oil on top. And, did you know about a certain curriculum, or did you look online to find how people do these things? Where did that come from?
So first, it was, of course, YouTube, and probably some books like Kramskoy, a book about oil paintings by Kramskoy. So there were several resources that I checked before I start, of course, because I even didn't know what is the medium, how to use the medium, what will happen if you use a lot of medium. All these mistakes I had to learn by myself and YouTube videos. And then I realized that probably now it's time to go to workshops. And I went to, I guess it was 4 workshops in general, in total. It was Robert Liberace, David Gray, Cesar Santos. And then the last one I went to was by Ivan Loginov. So you probably know Loginov on Instagram, Ivan Loginov.
That's one of the few, because I've interviewed David Gray and Cesar Santos. I've seen. I haven't spoken to him, and I can't remember the first person you mentioned.
Robert Liberace.
Liberace. Okay. I've referenced him on the podcast.
Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah.
I don't know, what was the last name he said?
Ivan Loginov.
Ivan Loginov. No, I don't know who that is.
I will send you the link. He's amazing. He's amazing. He's so damn talented. I sometimes so jealous. And so young. I mean, he's 26 or 27 or something like that. So he's super so the funny story is that, do we have time for funny stories?
Please, yeah.
Okay. So the funny story is that it was my last workshop that I had. And I realized I need to go to St. Petersburg. And I was following Ivan Loginov for quite a while. Because I thought it was an old master, gray beard and very old. And then I went to the room where we decided to have a workshop in his studio. And then there was standing some student, a young man, a young boy mostly. And I said, I'm looking for Ivan Loginov, for Professor Ivan Loginov. He said, that's me. And I'm like, what? First of all, I felt so miserable. He's young and so talented, and his works is amazing. But anyway, we had 5 days, 3 hours per day, a private workshop. We painted from life. And I guess in this 5 days, in this little time, I learned so much, because first of all, he's not only a talented artist, but a talented teacher. So he's really explaining very well. I think I'm doing a good promotion for Ivan Loginov. So Ivan, you need to pay me. But I really enjoyed it. Every crazy ideas that I have, every interesting, of course, I start involving it in my own way. But he gave me such a base. And the main thing that I learned from him and art in St. Petersburg school, that you shouldn't be afraid to use your fingers, to use the palette knife, to do a weird composition, to cut the head, to cut the fingers. Before it was something very unusual, right? You usually don't cut like this and don't place the head somewhere on third quarter of the painting and the rest is emptiness. And that's what I learned from him, that you shouldn't be afraid of doing like anything. You just need to feel it. You just need to experiment. So yeah, it was really nice workshop of him.
So yeah, so what do you understand about composition now? Do you kind of sketch compositions first to kind of figure out where you want to place objects in the picture plane?
I don't know, like I'm actually checking my work. So like I probably, when I do sketches, I see that I'm actually doing it quite very like classical. So it's probably in the center. But when I work on a bigger scale, or at least something more like a ready product that's gonna go to the gallery, or I don't know, gonna be sold or something like that, then I'm probably allowed myself to be more using more imagination and being brave in choosing where to place, because I'm thinking about like some kind of fields of colors, because on sketchbook it's very difficult to like you kind of squeeze into the little space. But when you work a bigger scale, you probably can think about the color fields and like a flakes of colors, right? So that's probably how I think. That's why on the bigger paintings I get more crazy. Like for example, I have some there's going to be some demonstrations. So I do like a small oil studies when I prepare for for a bigger scale, like you see. So but probably on a bigger work it will be slightly different, or different colors, or maybe I will cut the half of this man, or maybe his hand or something like that. So yeah, I guess on a bigger scale it's easier to get wilder rather than on sketchbooks, but probably it works for me only.
Well, for the audio listeners, you just showed me small paintings, I'd say on A5 or something about that scale. It's quite small. Is that, it looks about A5, I'm not sure. Maybe even smaller. Is that gouache? Is that oil? What is that?
It's oils. It's actually oils. Yeah, and it's quite old. I just use it for, like for inspiration on my mood board, to show me that there was a time when I did small thumbnail sketches, because right now I'm just going straight to a painting. I don't know. I just don't have patience for that somehow. Or I feel probably that, my time is so kind of squeezed. Not like I'm going to die, but some, like I just feel that I need to learn so much and I don't have time. That's why, for example, I'm not preparing my oils with pigments and oil. When you like do your own oils, it's really beautiful when artists doing that. But I feel like I don't have time for this. I want to go straight from, like from idea to the painting, to the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, what was it you'd be grinding up if it's this Chinese pigment of who knows what it is that you'll be having in a pestle and water? So you
exactly.
You'll leave that to someone else. You just keeps the canvas.
True. And I found a nice like oils, for example, from north of Portugal. I love to, when people are doing something crazy like creating oils or materials for artists, and they do it in a scale of their own studios, something like that. And I found the guy Leonel from Dabeco, with whom I'm working for like I think 3 years already, and he does oils by himself, so like oils and mediums for artists, using perfect pigments, everything's top quality. And like he does it better than me. Why should I do that? Like he's giving me a best quality material. So I mean, like, my work is actually just to go get crazy here, cry in front of my painting. I don't procrastinate, whatever. I just do, just my stuff.
I love it. Now, you don't have to do this, but would you be willing to come back for a second episode at some point? Because sadly, I can't stick around for too much longer to keep talking to you. I'd like to. So if you would, I'd love to have you on again.
That would be awesome. We'll do part 1 and part 2.
Yes, I'd love that. I did the same thing with Tyler Tilley, so you can tell it's a personality type who just offers so much, and I love it.
I'm sorry.
No, believe me, it's so generous of you, so I love it.
Thank you.
Because there are lots of things I want to talk to you about, and I'm worried about the time that we're running out of. So what I'll go to is...
Cut! Okay.
I've got a couple of questions left first, but what's your experience been with galleries?
I love working with galleries, especially when it's a nice people, like who respects artists. And thanks God, I worked with only this kind of galleries because I've heard stories from other artists and was like really sad. I'm right now reading the book by Bianca Basker. I think I pronounced her correctly. Sorry if not. Get the Pictures. And she wrote about her experience of 2 years in art world. And she's a journalist, so she's a writer. And she decided to dig down into the art world in New York, which is like a might be very toxic environment. And what I read there, it's like crazy, the way they behave, the way they, behave towards the artists. But thanks God, my galleries with whom I'm working, guys in Netherlands, David and Renee, big hug to you, Espacio 75 in Madrid, mwah, Gemma and Pablo. So amazing people. I love them. We trust each other. So I had good experience. I worked with Arcadia in New York. It was amazing. So Steve, hello. Yeah, I don't know. Like I was lucky enough and to have a good experience with galleries.
And galleries have always approached you. Is that accurate?
That's true. I was again lucky. People don't hate me, please. But yeah, they send me messages on Instagram. I guess that's how we met.
Yeah, it's wonderful because that's the ideal, and you've put the work in, so that's why people will come and find you. And the work is beautiful work. It's really interesting. I love how you are playing with the forms as well. Just like the two characters that you said that are on the wall behind you look like the same person. I imagine they're either the same person or twins, so
it actually the same person. I decided to depict. So do we have again time for a little story?
Please, yeah.
Yes. So the story is, it's my friend Connor. He's from Australia, but he lives here in Setúbal, and he has a most interesting face. I love to paint him. So we did a photo shooting here in my studio, and there were several photos where he closed his eyes, and then I asked to look to the camera, and I realized how different you feel when the person doesn't look or looks at you. Like it's such a different feeling, like where you have calmness and like you relax, and when the person piercing you with the look, like with eyes, you feel slightly, I don't know, it's not an aggression, but you feel kind of like it goes straight to you and you feel like you need to react to that. So it's an experimental work, but I just wanted to depict that feeling of when person doesn't look and look at you straight, inside your eyes, how different you feel. So it's just experiments that I'm working on right now.
That's a wonderful concept, and it's very true. And I'm bad for holding a gaze with people. I think it's my nervousness where I always lock in and just look at people. But
yeah,
it's very true. It can make
bit.
you feel a bit vulnerable, I think, when people stare right at you.
True.
But yeah, it's a lovely idea. It's really nice. So will this get framed and put into a gallery, or what do you think?
Right now I'm just collecting works. I'm working, I'm experimenting. I feel that I'm now free. I don't have any responsibilities, like something like I need to prepare 10 works for one gallery. The shows were over. I had a solo show in Madrid. So, for now I have some time till autumn to actually just create whatever I feel, whatever I want. And then see what will happen, because I now start feeling that I start having a series of works that goes to an interesting direction. So I want just to continue working on that kind of project.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And so are you saying that in autumn there are going to be exhibitions that you're working towards?
Yeah, there will be some art fairs. And also I have 2 workshops in Quarantine and Artscape Italy. So it's going to be busy again, probably because I will be traveling and not being in my studio. Yeah, but, right now I don't have like a schedule of exhibitions. I have several workshops and art fairs. But yeah, that's why I don't feel like, like a pressure of preparing, because relaxing after solo exhibition for some time, I earned some money, I can pay for my studios. Yeah,
I love it. Can we once again go through the galleries that you're represented by, because I want to show them on screen and link them down in the description of the audio and video platforms so that everyone can go and see them. So which galleries are you currently represented by?
So it's Bonnard Gallery from Netherlands. They are located in Nuenen. It's a city where Van Gogh's father had a church, and Van Gogh spent a lot of time and painted and drew so many beautiful works. And another one is Espacio 75 in Madrid. It's a very beautiful, not huge, but very cozy gallery that I really love to work with too. So for now, I guess maybe I might forget it. I'm so sorry if I forgot that. But I might work with these two galleries. At least I'm represented by them. I work with another galleries, but kind of like in a group show. So they have my works for installation or something like that. But probably I'm not represented by them. So I might not mention them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Because when you mentioned them earlier, I'll show them on the screen. Whereas the ones that you're represented by, I want to give this time to, and I'll show, like I said, they'll be linked in the description because I think that's important that people can see.
I'm actually really afraid that I forgot someone, and I know that I will not be able to sleep for the rest of my life if I did. So I really, I'm in panic right now. So if I forgot you, please, sorry, it's my just, chaotic brain.
Well, will it be on your website? Where will it be?
Actually, I forgot to update my website for like a year. So, like nowadays, everything is on social media. So I have my very active Instagram, probably Twitter, and that's enough. So nobody's checking website nowadays, do they? Like, I'm not sure.
Well, no, most guests who I have on say my website isn't up to date.
And by the way, if I forget any gallery after, can we put the thing from the Game of Thrones where the woman goes and says shame? So please, okay.
The shame meme will come up on the screen.
And
it will show the gallery afterwards and say this is one of the.
Yeah.
But yeah, the links will be in the description for your Instagram, your Twitter, and for your website, regardless of how updated or not.
I will update it now.
And also the galleries that represent you. But yeah, it's been wonderful talking to you. I look forward to part 2. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. All right.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. If you can support the podcast by leaving a like or a comment down below, that would really be great. But what we'd really like is if you're able to leave a review on the podcast channels, wherever you listen to it or download it, because that helps us get spread around the internet so that more people have access to us and able to see what we're making.
Also follow us on Instagram, and we'd really appreciate it if you like and engage with our posts. Help get the podcast better known. Thanks for listening.